the next few minutes, I, Ramala Hubb'Allah, introduction here, will hand you a very powerful Sufi analogy. And Sufi, for those who don't know, is roughly speaking Muslim mysticism or Muslim science of inner worlds, inner workings, your spirit, your software. I'll hand you a Sufi analogy that will really help you see things for what they are. Wine in a bottle, and I've crossed the word wine because I don't want the algorithms to trip over it, is an analogy about substance, form, meanings. Hold on. Form, meaning, and identities. Let me take you on this little trip and show you what wine in a bottle means. So imagine you have a bottle, and that is a container, and that is a bottle, but it's an empty bottle. Suppose it's a wine bottle, some kind of container for a fermented drink. And then you have a bottle that actually has wine in it. And then you have a bottle that has a label on it, but it's empty. So we have label, but empty. You have no label plus empty. And you have no label plus wine, nice fermented liquid in it. And remember, in Islam, Muslims or those who believe in God, other people also are promised wines that do not intoxicate human beings in the afterlife. And in the world also, I think wine isn't only a word that is used for alcoholic or intoxicating wines, it is also probably a name for fermented drinks, fermented to a level that they are not intoxicating and they're not dangerous. So that is why there's a line in the Quran, and instead of outrightly outlawing alcohol, it says there is some benefit in this for you, but the dangers outweigh the benefits. So, in as far as it's intoxicating, it's banned on you. So there are fermentations that do not intoxicate you, and you can use fermented substances. However, this is just an analogy. This isn't about alcoholism or intoxication. And in fact, the wine is a word used for intoxication with divine love, intoxication with truth and meaning, intoxication or getting overwhelmed. I'm also going to cross this with divine love. I'll tell you what this analogy really means, right? So we are not talking about wine. Wine itself is an analogy, and so is the bottle, and so is the label, and everything here is an analogy. So you have label plus wine in it. Let me tell you what everything stands for. Label is your identity, whatever name or identity that you give to yourself. Wine is meaning or something of purpose, right? Something purposeful, something precious also. Um, Bottle is simply a container or form. Oops, let me clear this up. Is form. This is something that contains you, something that keeps you together. And wine is an analogy for intoxication with divine love. In the purest of pure meanings, right? But this is an analogy that you can use for a number of things. Anything that is meaningful, anything that is something, and then it has a container. So in this universe, we have a container, we have identity, and we have substance. That is, by substance, I mean something meaningful. What are you made of? What is it? Something that is within something, right? So I do have like a pickle bottle here on my right next to my whiteboard, and the bottle is a bottle for pickles, and or otherwise, pickles are contained in a bottle. So there's a container, and then there is some substance in between. I have this whiteboard marker here, and the outside plastic is the container, and then we have ink that is a substance, and then we also have meaning. What does ink mean? What does this container plus a substance mean? This represents my ability to write, right? So wine in a bottle is a very complex analogy that represents or means quite a few things. First of all, when you have something that is a substance, something that means something, you need a container for it very often. Otherwise, you cannot. You need a kind of matrix for it. You need exactly the word container for it, right? And in the science of polarities or energies, I'll talk about polarities another time, or energies, the container, the bottle, is the masculine, and the wine or that which is contained within is the feminine element. All right, which means that that which is contained is by nature feminine in this example, and that which contains it, the container, is masculine. All right, so and also the nature of the feminine and masculine always is that the masculine contains the feminine. Feminine does not mean women, and masculine does not mean men, right? It is kind of energy. It's also in Chinese is known as yin and yang. The yang is masculine and the yin is feminine. These are just two ancient words, masculine, feminine, for something that is hard, that contains, that is a 3D matrix, and then something that is within it. And then that thing has a meaning as well. And then it has an identity as well. So you can have a bottle that is, it has no label, and it's empty, but it's a bottle. And you can have, nothing at all as well. Like no bottle, no form, no substance, no meaning, no label, identity. You can break this example down in many ways. You can also have some identity, but no bottle to put it on, to no wine. You can have mismatched identities. This is just a very basic kind of analogy that I give to you, that you can permutate and combine in different ways. Like, what label do we have? Is the label correct or not? Does the label correctly identify what is within? Then you have, for example, a bottle. It has no substance. It doesn't contain anything. However, it's there. And so potentially, if you ever need to put a wine into something, or you need to package something, water or something, for example, water, then you can put water in that bottle. Or in order to ship water, you would need a bottle. So this is important. And then to correctly identify it, you put a label on top of it. You can also have the incorrect label, right? So the label could be correct or incorrect. This analogy, you can just use it many ways, right? So what if you have a bottle that is a good bottle, and then you have wine that is good quality wine, but it's mislabeled? So we here have a situation where something is good, it is contained very well, but it's mislabeled. So you in your life can be in a situation where you're a person of good substance. You can have a good degree or social status or whatever that contains you, that gives you some kind of shape and form, but you're not labeled very well. You're not identified well. And so you would need some kind of identity in order to be known better. Or you can be like wine in a bottle, good wine, no label at all, and people don't know who you are. So in that case, you perhaps need to identify yourself and correctly in order to be identified by people in a glance. Otherwise, you'll have to communicate yourself over and over again. Here's a bottle. It's good. It's for a purpose, but it feels empty, or it's not serving its mission in the world. But it's potentially there. So how long is it there? Is it going to, live on in a warehouse, or where it is? Does it have a decorative value? Maybe. So this is a bottle, but if it contains something within, it fulfills its potential life purpose. Then you have a bottle with a label, and that could be an analogy that alludes to people who are focusing a lot on their image. It could be a correct label or an incorrect label. Assume it's a correct label. It's a good label. It's a very good label. You are a bottle or a person or a nation or a group that is focusing a lot on its labeling identity. You could be a social media account that is focusing a lot on its promotion. I'm great. I do this. I do that. However, you're not shipping anything. You don't have any substance in between. Suppose I create a YouTube account and I say, okay, the YouTube account is labeled the Ego Feminine or the Salam Matrix, and I write a description. It's very beautiful. The Salam Matrix account, for example, have these 4 accounts, right? So 2 of these are teaching accounts, and 2 of these are my trade accounts. I created an account for the Salam Matrix, and I say this YouTube channel teaches you about Ramala Hubb'Allah's tool, the Salam Matrix, which teaches you about the components of human civilization and society. All right, and then there's nothing in between. There's no video uploaded, maybe a little bit of video. There's nothing. So this bottle isn't shipping. This bottle isn't delivering. It's very nicely packaged, but it's not containing anything in it. Then you could have a YouTube account, very nice videos, etc. Not a good description, nothing, so people don't, really pick up what's there. Then you have a YouTube account that has good videos, has nice content, it's correctly labeled. People will be their attention and energy will be more clearly directed towards it and attached to it in an appropriate fashion. The clearer and better it defines itself, the clearer the identity is, the clearer the identity or the label matches with what's within, the more people, when they come to it with an expectation or attachment, will continue to find what they were told they were going to look for. And the truth is larger than the label. That also is important. You could be mislabeled, but when people come to you and taste you, they will find in you something. And over time, if they're good, right, and correct people, they will say, nah, it's not what the mislabeling says, it is that thing. However, it's better, of course, if the label and the wine matches. However, of the two, the more important is the wine. Also, what is more important when it comes to wine and the bottle? Actually, both of them together. In a previous video on my channel, The Eco Feminine, the video was in Urdu. I'm going to make it in English. I spoke of the Pareto principle, of how things split around the 80-20 rule. Naturally speaking, the phenomenon in the world splits across when they're divided. They divide along the ratio of 80-20. Something is 80%, and something the opposite of it is like 20%. So if you are very important, if you're the substance, you would still need 20% of the container in order to be shipped properly. Like 20% of this whole package, the 20% of importance goes to the bottle. Or by some other matrices, by some other measures, the masculine of the container could be like 25% important, but it's definitely important. That is what makes it 100%. Otherwise, you could have wine in like a big barrel, not shipping anywhere. And if there's no container at all, it's just going to lose itself, evaporate, and spill over and just go away. And that is also bad. So it needs to be a good quality bottle that contains it well, that caps it well, and then ships it well. And that is important. So the quality of the container is important. Just focusing, as I said, on your label alone doesn't matter. And if you are just an empty bottle, you're not serving a purpose, and so there's a void in the universe. What tends to happen is that nature doesn't really allow a vacuum. It just keeps on trying to. There are forces in the world, and they are in their origin divine forces. When they're hitting you, when they're teasing you, or testing you, provoking you, you might feel like they're hurting me, but they're actually coming for your betterment. Like in the totality of everything, everything is happening for your betterment. Of course, when you continue not to be filled with substance and not have the right labeling, that thing which is coming to test you or to engage with you will break you. Will, if we use this example for YouTube channels, for example, if you have a badly labeled channel, if you are providing low quality substance, YouTube can delete your channel as well. And do some kind of regular cleanup. But that is the nature of being, because nature does not really take well to vacuums. Nature needs to make space for new things. So you really need to ship. You really need to have good labeling. You need to present yourself well, and so on and so forth. So labeling is about identity and presentation, and that at the end of the day does have to match what's within. Also, at the end of the day, the wine has to be something good, something of quality. Otherwise, it can stay, it can be whatever it wants to be, but it will not be liked by the world. So there's a word outside. The bottle at the end of the day will have to serve its purpose. Also, the wine and the bottle cannot be in conflict. The bottle obtains its purpose by serving the wine. So in this world of masculine and in the world of humans, the male humans, by and large speaking, serve their purpose by containing the wine. Likewise, the parent, even a female parent, like a mother, uh, is the container, is the bottle for the wine that is her children. You could be person of any gender, binary, non-binary, and your work is the wine. Your personality and your substance is the wine. So if you're not shipping yourself, you're not delivering, and you will feel empty inside, and the world can take you to task, which it will. It is the nature of the world to do so, because there's no such thing as a sustainable vacuum on this planet, in this life. Life is here for purpose and meaning and for the expression of what we call divinity or life or whatever you want to call it, the universe. It is here to exhibit itself. So this is a very complex analogy that is about identity, meaning, substance, and form, quality. You can go deeper and deeper into this. How better can I make my labeling? There's good enough labeling, there's better labeling. Or if you're going for something better, like I want this wine to age not 30 years, but 50 years, then you make sure the wine keeps up with the labeling. So if you have an aspiration to become better, um, you make your quality better by working on yourself. And that's when we come to inner work or inner world and work. Here we go, which is what I work on. So you can transform also the quality of what's within by better aging, better making, better contents, and right kind of origin and making and the contents of the wine, however wine is made. So you can actually do better fermentation there. So this is a really complex analogy. This is also an analogy about interdependence of the substance and the form, and so much more. So I will give you an assignment in the comments. You tell me about something, anything that you can think of, and think of what is the container part, and what is the contained part, and what is the labeling part. You can talk about nation building, you can talk about yourself, you can talk about any situation. There are situations such as your job, your label, you are the COO of something. That is your container, right? Of course, it doesn't have to be a physical bottle. It doesn't have to be a man also. So what are you shipping within? And how are you presenting it? How are you labeling it? And how are you defining it in your own head? Labeling isn't just to show it to the world. Predominantly, you define it to yourself. And so the quality of this whole thing comes from the inside out. The wine, the most important thing, right? The whole thing is basically about the wine and the intoxication or the pleasure that it creates, right? When we talk intoxication, when I speak from a Sufi point of view, I'm not talking about getting trippy. I'm talking about your senses tingling, pleasure, being overwhelmed, being transformed, being changed, and really experiencing awe and pleasure. So we're speaking in spiritual terms here. So the most important thing is this, and then right after that, the other important thing is the container, and these two go hand in hand. The third thing comes your labeling and your definition, and this is something where you do cognitive work at, right? This is substantial work. This is somatic bodily work. This is work of technology. This is the work of social construction, etc. The technological work of things, the delivery, the containment, the rules, the boundaries. This is the substance and the meaning and the production, the craft, right? And this is a cognitive element, your communication, etc. That is the wine in a bottle analogy. Let me know how it impacted you. Today is October the 16th. These are my channels. Go subscribe. These are my website. They're not like completely developed, but here they are. I think the most complete is the Eco Feminine. And I'm a Pakistani Muslim woman, currently living in the Pakistani Himalayas, and I teach integral and systems thinking, and I help people solve problems through analogies and metaphors. And basically, I teach people how to think and how to integrate thinking and how to resolve conflicts and make your life better at every level, the spiritual, the personal, the social, the political level with this. This applies to persons, this applies to groups, this applies to corporations, businesses, nations, and our entire spirituality. I will be quiet now. Thank you so much for watching this video with me.